There he is. The man, the myth, the legend. He's actually at home today, audience. He is in Queens, New York. And we were just talking about before we started recording. It's a sad day in Queens, Phil. The Mets have come to the end of the road of their journey. And
I
you
mean,
look to the Bronx and they move on.
Sad day in New York because, the Giants are just not performing to their
Oh
potential.
God.
The
Oh.
Jets,
No,
I mean, let's talk about the Jets in a Super Bowl season, which is
no,
quickly
don't even
going
bring
down
them
in
up.
flames.
And they got the
Obviously,
Yankees.
the Mets. We got the Liberty. Exciting for the first time in
Wow.
franchise history. The Liberty have
Saw
brought a
that.
title to New York.
Saw that. Are they going to get a nice parade?
Oh,
Canyon
it's
of
going to be a huge
Heroes?
parade. I mean, you
You
talk
heard.
about, let me tell you, when you want to talk about New York and energy, I mean, you should have seen the Barclays Center last night was
WNBA.
rocking. And
Yeah.
I will tell you, this parade, and I've had the pleasure of attending many New York parades down the Canyon of
Mm-hmm.
Heroes. I've seen the
Mm-hmm.
Giants, I've seen the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
I even remember as a kid seeing the Rangers.
Wow. Good for
I've seen
you.
them all. I would argue that the Liberty is going to knock the
All of them
socks.
combined? Just blow them away.
It's going to be big.
Were
It's
you
going
at
to
the
be big.
game, Phil? Were you
I think the
courtside watching the Liberty win that? You were there.
Yeah, no, not quite.
No.
I wish. I wish. I was with my
No, I'm happy
family
for the
last
Liberty,
night.
man.
I was
I
I was
remember.
with my family, not at the game, unfortunately, but I will tell you that the vibe across New York yesterday, there was like a palatable vibe. And as I'm talking to people this morning, I mean, it's literally no one's it's so odd. I mean, there's so much going on. I don't want to brag for all of
Yeah.
for all of your
Yeah.
listeners, like who are all
Mm-hmm.
across the country. I mean, New York,
Mm-hmm.
we've got a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on.
You do. And I wonder how many of these listeners are going to be rooting for the Dodgers in the World Series over the Yankees. Um, Either
The evil
way,
empire
yeah, the
Dodgers.
evil empire is back. No, I was going to say the Yankees. Yeah, the Dodgers. These are two of the most hated teams because they spend the most money, but they
Because
have the
they
biggest
win.
stars and they
Because they
win.
win, Keith. Because they
Yes.
win.
Great to talk about sports, Phil. Great to get your insights. But we are right now, I'm calling it Conference Mania. I guess we're in like the seventh inning to bring it back to baseball of conference season, maybe the sixth inning. We're getting near the end. The Super Bowl of conferences is coming up, Money 2020 in 5, 6 short days. I'll be out there. I think you'll be out there. I'm doing a quick in and out. You'll probably be out there the whole week. But going back, and then of course we end conference season, at least I do, with your conference right before Thanksgiving, which is a great time of year. I think it gives you a little rest in November, and then gather up steam for pre-holidays. But we'll talk about that in a few seconds. But going back to kind of how conference season started, I was thinking back. I've seen you like 3 or 4 times at in different locations. Started with our conference, the Next Forum in Atlantic City in September. You graciously moderated a panel, and that was a fantastic panel. Then I saw you at the Unit Conference in New York, where you also moderated a panel. And then I saw you in Utah, Spring Labs, where basically you were the MC of the whole event, almost. And now I see you're going to be in Philadelphia Wednesday at the Philly Fed Fintech Conference. Unfortunately, I couldn't get into that one. I don't have the clout of the Phil Goldfeders, but might be watching it on online. So even tried to get in as media, and I couldn't get in, Phil. So if you have some secret connections, let me know.
Next time,
But
Keith, you got to reach out. We'll take care
I
of you.
know, I know. I didn't think about it, but I think I'm going to take this week off from conferences anyway. Go to Vegas for a couple days, come back. But I really wanted to get your sense, moderating these panels, attending all these conferences. What's the vibe, and what are some of the trends you think are coming up from your point of view as a moderator, but also a guest? What sense are you getting right now from these conferences?
So again, thank you, Keith, so much for having me. Excited to be here with you as always. We appreciate the partnership that AFC has with Travillian. You guys are the
As do
best at
we.
what you do. And we appreciate the consistent and collaboration and partnership. And yeah, conference season. Excited to see everybody at Money 2020. Interestingly enough, Money 2020 has officially bled into the weekend. It used to be that conferences started on Monday morning. I will see everybody. I think our first event is 10 a.m. Sunday morning.
10 a.m. Wow.
Much to the displeasure of my wife and family. Like, generally Sundays we try to spend some time together. But it's going to be a big event, and I'm excited for it. But I will say I'm even more excited for, we have elections coming up, as you know, right? And there's so many conversations. And as you mentioned, you and I together have been at 3 or 4 conferences. I've probably done another 5 or 6 on top of that in the last few weeks. There's a lot of prognosticating and a lot of, sort of trying to give best guesses in terms of what the ecosystem is going to look like in 2025 or post-election season.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say that the American Fintech Council Policy Summit is actually going to be the first fintech event post-elections.
That should be fun in DC.
In DC. So we're going to be in DC on November 19th, post-elections, to not take guesses about what we think is going to happen in the House, or what we think is going to happen in the Senate, or what we can expect out of the new CFPB or the same CFPB. I mean, we'll really know what to expect. We hope, knock on wood, that we'll know by November 19th.
For America's sake, I hope we have one. Either way, we have a decision made.
And so we at the American Fintech Council have convened sort of the biggest names, CEOs, organizations, companies, regulators, policy thought leaders, and sort of everybody across the fintech ecosystem for a conversation about what 2025 is going to look like and what the future of financial regulation is going to look like. And so
tickets available now, right, Phil? Tickets available now, but selling out fast.
Tickets are available now. Go to fintechcouncil.org to secure your tickets. We literally, and it's people always say this as a marketing method, right? Like, oh, get your tickets quick before they sell out. Yeah. We are going to sell out. We have no.
I was there last year. Here's a free plug. It's one of the best conferences I've been to, because you have breakout sessions. It's smaller. You have huge names that you can talk to afterwards when they get off the stage. But the breakout sessions are fantastic. The networking event after is fantastic. And you're gonna, to quote Jaws, you're gonna need a bigger boat in the future years, I think, because right now it's intimate. A lot of people want in. So,
and that's, we're thinking about our growth and how do we make sure that you maintain the intimate feeling of a good conference where you get a chance to actually see everyone and have those meaningful conversations. And panelists don't run away and hide behind stage and sneak out a back door, right? The idea is that we're trying to bring together the thought leaders for real conversations that will actually lead to, pragmatic policy ideas, regulatory ideas, ways through a number of challenges that I think the fintech and innovative banking scene is happening today.
You get to go to the Hill the next day, right?
We've got
people to the Hill.
A whole week planned, and we're really excited about it. But going back to your question, I think what I felt lately is that there is a palatable energy about figuring out how do we pragmatically take the industry forward. I think there was a time in the fintech ecosystem and innovative banking ecosystem where, they were flourishing and companies were sort of just charging full steam ahead. And then all of a sudden there was this kind of regulatory kind of oversight pushback where things may have come to almost to a halt. Yeah. I think now what you're seeing in the last 6 months is look, and maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic, but I feel it at the conferences, talking to regulators, talking to policymakers, and talking to industry executives. You're starting to feel like there is an opportunity to come together to figure out what the actual future of finance is going to look like. And that's what the American Fintech Council was built for. I mean, we really built this organization for the exact purposes of not just speaking for the industry and not just speaking, about what the regulators want. It's about trying to find the happy medium. And you're starting to see it more and more at sort of the entire conference circuit. Obviously, Keith, yours was I would think the start. I would actually, going back now, I'd have to look at my calendar. I would say,
I think that was.
It may have been the kickoff of the season, right? Like
it probably was. I know Finovate was happening at the same time, and you had to go up to Finovate. But we're already thinking about having it again, but starting earlier this time, maybe a different time of year. I know early September is really tough. for people. But yeah, we brought that together in a few months, and I think it went really well. Kind of like the Spring Labs AI
Yeah.
conference came together pretty quickly, and I thought that was a fantastic conference. You can feel the
Yeah.
energy of that technology, Phil. That's going to keep you busy for a long time too at the American Fintech Council, because between regulation and new ideas and companies and partnerships, that is the new, well, it's here, but I think it's going to affect your members, our clients, a lot more in the coming years.
Yeah, and huge credit to Spring Labs. We were so proud to be even a small partner with them on
Yeah.
The summit they did in Utah. It was an amazing crowd. It was an amazing, the substance was really there. You had great speakers. There was great networking. And we were very proud of what they've been able to accomplish. I mean, Spring Labs is one of AFC's newest members,
Nice.
but they're probably one of our most active already. I mean, they're just so engaged
That's great.
on
That's
AI.
great.
But on so many things across the organization. I'm excited to see them are going to be participating, obviously, in the AFC Summit coming up. But I mean, Keith, when you think about who we've got, we've got Democrats and Republicans, right?
Yeah.
We got Senator Mike Rounds, who is going to be leading the banking committee in the Senate next year. We have, members of the House. Congressman French Hill, who is going to be a leader in financials, a leader today, but continue to be a leader in financial services on the Financial Services Committee. We have CEOs from the biggest embedded finance banks and the biggest technology company from
Eric Spring
from
Willett.
Coastal, Bill Gates from Cross River, Sean Willett at Lincoln Savings Bank. Obviously, so many, Scott Sanborn from Lending Club. Many people argue, Lending Club was one of the founders of modern fintech. And Scott Sanborn is going to be speaking. Again, really, really exciting. People like Self Financial. It's not just about products that are offering credit. Self Financial is a credit building fintech company that's literally helping families create a pathway out of debt and to build credit. And I'm excited that Julie Sudarik, their CEO, is coming to speak. And so we've got a lineup top to bottom, right? The biggest CEOs in the industry,
I'm looking
to
at
the
it right
biggest
here,
regulators. The FDIC.
You got Chris Dodd of the famous Dodd-Frank.
Chris Dodd is going to be there. I mean, look,
Chris
you
Black.
talk about modern financial regulation, 2008. Chris Dodd is going to be there to talk about what's been going right and what's been going wrong, how he looks at, how does he view the CFPB and what it's become today.
So, because he's out of government now, so he can look back and see how it's going right now. And by then, I guess I was just reading about the 1033 rule might drop this week, or is it like an album release? You don't know when it's going to drop.
Yeah, look, 1033, data privacy, open banking. I mean, there's so many great conversations that we're going to have. And here's, I think what's so critical is the timing, right? Because there's, a lot can happen. I mean, depending on what happens in the upcoming elections, will play a pivotal role in what the next number of years looks like for financial services regulation. And so this is a really exciting time. But come November 19th in Washington, D.C., we're going to have those conversations. But more importantly, the right people are going to be there to have the conversations with. And so, the American Fintech Council is the largest, fastest growing fintech trade association based in Washington, D.C. And so we're excited for what we've been able to build. And as you mentioned, this is conference season. And so we like to think that the culmination of that is our summit coming up on November 19th. And just excited for who we have for our lineup and for our program. It's just really, it's been a highlight of the year for all of our attendees for the last 7 years. And we're excited for our eighth annual summit.
I like how you give everybody a little break between Money 2020 and your conference. Go home, rest up. If it was like the week after, I think people would be like, I can't do it. But
yeah, I think we thought long and hard. I'll tell you, we thought long and hard about the date. I mean, let me tell you, planning a summit, as you know now, Keith, is not simple. Huge kudos to my team, to Taylor on my team, who's done just an amazing, amazing job. But we spent weeks sort of thinking through what would it take to plan a conference and a summit in DC before the election, and what would that look like? And what would it take to plan a conference and a summit after the election? And I think what ultimately won out is anybody who knows about the American Fintech Council, our goal and our mission is to move the needle, right? To make pragmatic change and to make a difference. And we thought after the election sort of enables us to have a more meaningful conversation, a more substantive conversation, and not have to theorize about what could happen if this happens and what could happen if that happens. We're able to look at the totality of the elections, see sort of get a basic shape of what government is going to look like for the next couple of years, and have meaningful conversations around that. And so while it was probably harder to put together a meaningful program, I'm happy to say we were absolutely successful, and I'm excited to share the full calendar and the full schedule in the coming days. It's going to be posted on our website, so feel free to come back and visit fintechcouncil.org.
Yeah, it seems like every few days I get an email that you've signed a new member, which is great, and it comes across the spectrum. You know, you have Spring Labs, and then you have a bank, and then you have a fintech, and it's great to bring all these together. And I think the word is definitely out that the value from American Fintech Council is definitely there. You got you at the top working in different states every day, flying all over the place. So you got a great representative. You're working your butt off to make sure the members are, get the best information and have the best ability to, shape policy and help shape policy for a lot of little guys, smaller banks and smaller embedded banks, and not just the JP Morgans of the world. Because you have some say. You need to have some say in there.
Innovative banks offering embedded finance are critical to the larger fintech ecosystem. We thought that from the day we were founded, we recognized that it was important to sort of bring everybody under the tent. And so, as you mentioned, right, we just announced Stearns Bank joined great fintech companies like Footprint and Base Layer and Spring Labs and Oscillator. Happy to say we've got 3 or 4 more coming out in the next 2 weeks. It's like I said, during conference season, you always want to make sure you have some good announcements ready to go. And so we're excited that our membership is growing. We announced strategic partnerships with tremendous organization just that last week. FTI Consultants, CAFE, the Center for Accelerating Financial Equity. And so we've got this is the beauty of AFC. We're not a passive trade association, right? We're always looking to deliver value, obviously, for our membership, but more importantly, as I mentioned before, move the needle when it comes to policy, regulation, relationship building, really create an ecosystem of companies that want to work together for, to create a future of finance that is creating access to financial services, but it's not hindering consumer protections in any way.
Yeah. And it's a fight, man. I know it's a fight for you. You're in front of different states, their legislatures, and then you're back in Washington. But it's not going to slow down with the new, like I said before, the AI technology, the new rules coming out. I think your organization is just going to grow because a lot of banks and a lot of fintechs are just going to need that collaborative type environment that you provide. And then your strategic partners, such as Travillian and other firms, a lot of different law firms and consulting firms. So you bring a lot of different perspectives, which is great.
Yeah, I know you think about the topics we'll be covering. I mean, we're talking about 1033, AI, earned wage access, buy now, pay later. I mean, we have taken dozens of topics that are, really critical to the future of the industry. And we have smashed them into one day and brought all the experts together to have these conversations. And not just about what's happening on the stage. As you mentioned earlier, we have roundtables to get, a really good dialogue going around so many topics. And so there's so much going on, and it's not just an opportunity or a conference where you want to be talked to or just listening to. We want people to interact and to engage and to talk to the policymakers. And, we have members of a number of state legislatures are going to be there. And they asked me right away, they're like, Phil, we'd love to come. We want to participate, but is there going to be a good opportunity to talk to some of the companies that are going to be there as well? And I said, they asked me the same thing about you, right? Like they want to know if the members of the legislature are going to be willing to talk to them. And so that's the beauty of what we've built, right? And I think, as you and I both know, Keith, sometimes there is just a huge disconnect between what's happening on the stage and the people who are there listening. For AFC, we try to make it as intimate as possible. I like to say the warm and fuzzy organization brings to you the warm and fuzzy conference for the purposes of making sure that we're building those relationships that are going to create, a responsible future of finance.
Love it. That's a great ending right there, Phil. I think that's the perfect kind of print it type line, bring everybody together. But it's really interactive. You can go to a different round table. You might be interested in crypto. You might be interested in AI. So, and those little roundtables are, 10, 20 people. And you really get the interactive, and you got experts in the room. New subjects are brought up as you keep the conversation going. I think those are the best conferences. Those are the best. Because you leave,
look, and
you have
I
people to follow up with. It's fantastic.
I took my lead from what Travillian put together. And so
humble.
we're
Even though
happy
this was our
to
first, and you've been doing it for years, but I appreciate the.
we appreciate your partnership. I would
Yeah.
I would say November 19th in Washington, D.C. You can get your tickets at fintechcouncil.org. And again, as I said, we are going to sell out probably in the next couple of days. And so if you're interested, I urge people to get online and get those tickets.
Yeah. And he's not just saying that, folks. I think they are going to sell out pretty quickly. No, it's been great, Phil. Always great to chat with you. Love our strategic relationship with American Fintech Council. We share a lot of the same clients also, and they're thrilled with what you're doing when we speak with our clients. So, yeah, I would definitely, if you're a bank, embedded bank, tech forward bank, look into joining the AFC. It's a great foundation organization. And now, Phil, I guess I'll see you in Vegas, and maybe we'll finally have that drink together.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, sir.
See you, buddy. Thanks,
All right,
man.
talk soon.